Imagine you're driving on a busy motorway when your car suddenly loses power, or worse still, you start to see smoke and flames coming from the engine. Hundreds of Ford drivers across the UK say they're experiencing catastrophic failures with their Ford EcoBoost engines, and in some cases are being left thousands of pounds out of pocket. Keely Donovan went to investigate.
Second failure.
Second failure, replaced in 2015-16.
Meet Tracy and Colin Shepherd from Bexhill-on-Sea in East Sussex. They bought their Ford C-Max on lease plan and liked it so much they then bought it outright. Earlier this year, Tracy noticed the car's fan was running on.
Got my dad to have a look at it, and he topped up, he said the coolant fluid was down, so he topped it up a little bit.
The following day, the 1-litre EcoBoost suffered a complete engine failure.
There's a big red warning light came up in the middle, and it just said stop, high temperatures. I just pulled in around the corner so it was safe to stop. It just wouldn't start again.
When Colin contacted Ford, he was told the repairs were going to cost him nearly £6,000.
I'm not paying that. Absolutely no way. It's a 4.5-year-old car, but we'd only owned it for 18 months.
After repeated calls to Ford's Customer Relationship Centre, the company offered a contribution of 65% of the cost of repairs. But Colin still refused to accept and says he became increasingly frustrated with the company's policies.
I'm sorry, but it is Ford's policy that we're unable to put that information in writing.
If I've got to pay a bill, I'm entitled to anything in writing.
As I say, it's Ford's policy that I'm unable to put that information in writing to you.
No, it's not. That's utter nonsense.
After 3 months of negotiation, Tracy and Colin eventually paid £1,700 to get their car repaired. Now, Ford's EcoBoost engine was introduced into their vehicles in 2010. They described their 1-litre EcoBoost as a game changer.
This car has the International Engine of the Year, and so does this one.
I'm on my way to meet Chris Walker, an engine expert. Chris says he's had 3 EcoBoost engines brought into his garage in Rochdale, and they've all had the same problem.
This is the cylinder head of an engine. Basically, that's the top half of your engine. What we're finding is they seem to be cracking. You can just see, just there, they seem to be cracking. And we've seen quite a few now that have all cracked in the same place.
Why is that causing the engine to fail?
Well, what we're finding is when it's cracking, it's allowing the coolant of the engine to go into the exhaust system. If it loses all its coolant, the engine will overheat and the engine will eventually fail.
It's bad enough having your engine cut out while you're driving, but some drivers have had an even more terrifying problem. Claire Robson from Lowestoft bought her Ford Grand C-Max with a 1.6-litre EcoBoost engine to accommodate her growing family. After about a year, she noticed she was having to top up the coolant more and more often.
I'd come back from a trip to London and I noticed that the fan was running really rapidly.
And you can hear it, can you?
Yes, incredibly loud. It's almost like a jet engine. Opening some posts, I got a recall letter from Ford stating that there needed to be some recall work done on my car, which would fit a sensor to identify when the coolant level was getting low.
Claire called her local Ford dealership to book in the work, but was surprised by the response.
I got a letter to say that my car needed to be recalled because of a fault with the cooling system.
Yeah, I mean, the recall itself is an alarm that they add in so that if the coolant level gets low, it makes you aware of it, so it wouldn't stop the cylinder head from cracking.
So Claire agreed to bring the car in to diagnose the coolant problem, and they set a date about 2 weeks later.
What they are advising to customers to do in the meantime is keep checking your coolant level and make sure it doesn't get below the minimum.
2 days after her call to Ford, Claire was driving along a busy dual carriageway.
I've noticed that the smoke's actually coming from under my bonnet, which made me wonder if it related to obviously the fire that was referenced in the letter that I received. I started thinking, right, I need to get to safety, and there was a slip road coming up, so I left the dual carriageway at the slip road.
Claire had pulled into a busy retail park.
I was terrified because there was people around me, there was children, it was obviously a busy bank holiday weekend, and there was absolute billows of smoke coming from under the bonnet, and at that stage I saw the first flame lick up from underneath the bonnet, and I thought, I need to get out of the car now. And it's just a sense of incredulity that actually My car has caught fire days after I've made a phone call to Ford.
Just an hour away in the small town of Brandon lives George Roberts. His story is frighteningly familiar. He too was driving on a dual carriageway, but in his case, it was late at night.
I just noticed something orange glowing on the side of the road, and at the time I thought, I don't know, maybe one of my indicators are playing up or something like that. So I pulled over into a lay-by where I noticed loads of smoke when I looked through my rearview mirror.
So what happened when you pulled over then?
There was fire in this part here originally. Had nothing to put it out with, called the fire service, and then by the end, come back to the front of the car and all this whole lot was on fire.
How quickly did the fire grow?
Well, from the whole engine being on fire to the whole car was 6 minutes.
By the time the fire brigade arrived, the car was completely destroyed. We contacted Ford and it told us safety is its #1 priority. It says the recall of the 1.6 EcoBoost affects more than 15,000 vehicles, and the work to fit a new sensor combined with proper maintenance of the car's coolant system makes the vehicle safe to drive. We found out that Ford has been aware of the potential fire risks to the 1.6 EcoBoost engine for more than 5 years. This is a safety recall notice from the Vehicle Standards Agency, the DVSA, and it was issued in the UK in January 2018. It says a problem with overheating can cause the engine's cylinder head to crack, which in extreme circumstances could lead to a fire in the engine. Problems with this engine were identified in 2012 after several vehicle fires in the United States, and an official recall notice was issued by the American Traffic Safety Administration in January 2014, 4 years before the UK's recall notice. In South Africa, one man, Rachel Jimmy, died in December 2015 when his Ford Cougar burst into flames and he was trapped inside. Ford's told us that vehicles are manufactured with different specifications around the world, and that it launched the UK recall when it determined a safety issue existed.
Essentially, it's all related to the coolant.
Louisa Reardon from North London founded a Facebook group after her 1 litre EcoBoost failed.
The reason I set the group up was because I needed to support others that were going through the same problems that we had. It's got just over 3,000 members and we have over 1,200 failures, engine failures. 1,000 of those have happened this year, just since the beginning of the year.
Claire and George contacted Ford after their car fires and both had a very similar response.
I've been stonewalled. They literally would not communicate with me, and they told me twice, point blank, they couldn't discuss the case with me. My insurance company have offered me a payout, however it is considerably less than it would take to replace the vehicle like for like.
Claire has so far refused the insurance offer, but George accepted his despite it being considerably less than the value of his car. After we contacted Ford with our evidence of widespread EcoBoost failures, the company has changed its position. From now on, it's offering to cover the entire cost of repairing 1 litre engines which have overheated. It says this will also apply to previous cases and is urging all of the people affected to get back in touch.
Now, the last place you'd expect to find